Hey, what's going on, everybody? I bet you thought I forgot about you again. I would never do such a thing. What's going on, everybody? Matt the Lumberjack Landlord. Yep, hair's a little bit messy today because today was a pool day with the kids, which is always a fun thing to do. But welcome aboard. If you don't know who I am, Lumberjack Landlord. 53 buildings, 150 units, 400 tenants. Been doing this investing thing for over 20 years and still an active investor. Bought a deal. Most recent deal was in the last 60 days that I bought. And in the process of selling a deal right now. That's what I'll update you guys on today and kind of bring you into the loop. But this real estate market is nasty. It's a good thing, for those of you who are looking to get in potentially. But the time to learn is now. The time to understand what's going on in the market is now. And so who better to learn that from than a guy who's in the market every single day? So, so the nasty things that I'm seeing about the market, longer vacancies for sure. Vacancies are longer. I'm seeing more turnover in units than we've seen in recent years. So not as many people staying put. Definitely some people jumping on board with the silliness of, companies offering all these crazy giveaways. So that's been really interesting to watch. Typically, we would be 7 to 10 days on a rental unit, based on how we write the ad, how we show it, the FOMO opportunities, the jamming of the open houses. Typically, we're 7 to 10 days, basically from putting it on market to having it rented and under lease. What we're seeing now is closer to 30 days. It's a lot longer. We've had more units now vacant when the next tenant moves in we've had in a long time, probably 4 or 5 years, I would guess. So we're definitely seeing some changes in the rental market. Now, the other thing too is, just to be fair and tell you in full disclosure, we're raising the rents in these places. So granted, we're going to see more attrition. That's fine. Again, when you have a large enough portfolio, playing those laws of averages is completely okay. If we have a great tenant, we're definitely binder strategizing them like we've done for, about 10 or 15, actually 15 years now, around 2010. When we had so much PTSD, or I had so much PTSD from losing tenants from the great financial crisis, I started involving them in the conversation about raising rents. That's really where we learned to do that, because we couldn't put ourselves in a position where it was like we were just raising their rent and this is the way it was and this is what we were going to do. And, tough if they didn't like it. And then we ended up with a vacancy. We had so much PTSD about vacancies from the great financial crisis that it was definitely something that we had to change. And so that's basically what we did. Was we started with text messages, basically having the conversation. Hey, your lease is coming due in a couple of months. Just wanted to have that conversation with you. We'd love to keep you. But rents, our expenses have gone up. And so we want to have just, understand from you if, what you think would be fair. And that's how we used it. That's how we worked it, because the truth of the matter is that we wouldn't have raised rents if our expenses didn't go up. We were fine with that. It was largely that market was kind of static. There weren't a whole lot of rents going up. It was fairly static. And it was really just a matter of, making sure that we were keeping those tenants, even though our costs were going up, because property taxes go up every single year and water bills go up every year and sewer bills go up every year. And utilities on, like, if it's a triplex and it has a common a house meter is what they call it. So from that perspective, that's where we kind of got the PTSD and started involving them in the conversation, as opposed to just assigning them a new number and then fingers crossed they were going to renew. So that was kind of interesting. So that's kind of what we had gotten through. And now what we're seeing now is, we've seen more people want to break leases, which is just absurd, and they're just like, well, we decided, we're just giving you 30 days notice. That's nice, but you have a lease and that's not how it works. But interestingly enough, we haven't seen more evictions. Um, we have seen more deals worked out when somebody stopped paying, and then we file or post on them, and then they wait a couple of weeks, and then they file for a court appearance. But then everybody gets a case of the, oh my gosh, I'm going up against the Michael Jordan of eviction court. That's a joke. But 28-0 now, just did another workout, and the workout's been working out. They've been paying every week steadily, and that's always our hope. So this market is just downright nasty from a rental perspective. From a buying perspective, I have amazing news, which is finished the flip project. It's all 100% done. We put it on the market on when do we put that on the market? We put that on the market on last Thursday, my normal process. So that went on the market last Thursday. We set up for an open house on Saturday. And that was really cool. And so I'll do a special on the whole project and kind of taking you guys through everything, but really excited with how the project went. It was, we spent a little bit more than what we expected. So we'll cover all that budget stuff with you because I wanted complete transparency. I told you guys in the beginning, I think the budget was like 67 or 68,000 bucks, right around there. And that we would be within kind of 5% of that number plus, or 5 or 10% of that number plus or minus, with the contingency fund. And then we saw the opportunity, and what the opportunity is, that particular house had the room to do a second bathroom, but also had the ability to do washer dryer kind of off the kitchen as opposed to in the kitchen. It was literally in the kitchen. So it was like cabinets, fridge, washer dryer. It's like, I kind of want to close that off, make it more private. Not have anybody walk into the room and go, oh, washer dryer. The other thing I didn't want to do too is I didn't want to put it down in the basement, because in New England, most basements are pretty cold. Certainly for these older homes, basements are pretty cold in the wintertime. So you don't want to have one of those things where people are just always avoiding, going down and doing laundry because it's so cold. Also having a water source down there, like a washer dryer, where, then you have to contend more with heat because they're not copper pipes that go from the for the washer portion of the washer dryer combination. So as we kind of look at that process, or as we kind of looked at it, or as I looked at it, I said, you know what? I'm going to make the extra money investment, and I'm going to put in a second bathroom. As I looked at the market, there were a ton of 3-1s, tons of 3-1s, or 4-1s, because we're in old New England. But after looking at it, tons of 3-1s. What was really interesting was there were no real 3-2s. There were either 3-1s or there were brand new built 3-3s. And the 3-3s, they were not our competition. Not at all. They were selling on average for $400 a foot, 450 a foot, 400 to 450 a foot. None of them were 1,000 square foot houses. They were all 1,500 square foot houses, so they're selling in the, 7s, 6s, mid 6s, low 7s, crazy numbers for what would be considered an entry level home. But yeah, this market is nasty. And so the reason I call it nasty we just covered it on the rental side, but on the housing side, this was an entry level home. If you guys remember, in fact, I'll quiz the group. Good to see all you guys. Hey, Grant, good to see you, sir. But I'll quiz you guys. Do you guys remember when we talked about that project, going live? Do you guys remember, like I said, the budget was around $67,000. And then, 5 to 10%, I said, we'll be within 5 to 10% of that, depending on what we do. And we made the decision to do the extra bathroom. And so, yeah, we definitely had overages from that. I'm going to do a full video on the mistakes that we made in that one, because even at this stage, I still make mistakes. Biggest mistake on that one was one specific contractor. But do you guys remember what we thought the go-to market price would be for that property? Do you guys remember that? I kind of gave you guys a range. But do you guys remember what we talked about for the pricing of that 3-1 that I was going to do, or that project that we did? Do you guys remember what that pricing was? I'll give you guys seconds to guess or put in what you remember. But the exciting thing was, again, after just doing market research, this is what we talk about when we talk about rehabbing single family homes, is that you're always trying to buy way, way, way below the median. You're always trying to do that, but you want your finished product to be 10 to 20% below the median. So the median pricing about where we were was about 440,000. So my hope was in anything that we were going to buy, it would be something that we could, make at least 75,000 bucks on it. It would be something that we knew would be a final market price in the 350, 360 range. So $440,000 is 88,000 off of the 88,000, which is 90. So it's 352 would basically be the final number. So we wanted to, like I said, kind of be in that 350 ballpark because we know that there's no product there, but we couldn't sacrifice quality, and we couldn't sacrifice neighborhood. We couldn't sacrifice a lot of things. But as we developed through the project, there were specific items that I said, you know what, we really need to do this because I wanted the property to set itself apart. Maybe it meant a little bit more money. That's fine. As far as a sales price, it was definitely going to be more money from a construction price. I don't have the final numbers, but we're tallying those now because we just paid the very last bill. But in looking at all of that, kind of what I came to was, if I'm a 3 bed, 2 bath, I am different than all of the 3 1s. I'm not competing with the 3 3s. So I'm competing with the 3 1s, right? So square footage wise, there was stuff that was 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 square feet. We added some of that square footage with a dormer. You guys remember that was the biggest part of this project. The dormer was, all in, I think it was about $8,000, $9,000. So that was one of the biggest parts of the project, was actually doing the dormer. But as we continue to roll through the project, I just said, okay, what are the areas? What are the things that we can do in this project that are going to differentiate us from everybody else? And the thing was adding a bathroom. It was, hey, Jasic, or Jasic. It was adding a bathroom, and it was moving the washer dryer, making sure that those were in better places. And then adding the dormer upstairs. Those were kind of the big 3, right? That were going to kind of be different. Yeah. Wealth building journey. Yeah. You're catching up. Yeah. So we had talked about like a 325 price tag. Because basically, remember, we kind of worked the numbers backwards, which was, purchase at 153 with expenses, but basically purchase at 153 and change, get us up. And then we were talking about the budget of $67,000 because it was 153 plus 67, which basically brought us to 220, right? Which was kind of the number. And then the idea was, okay, after expenses, we want to clear at least 75. Big number on this small of a house. But if I'm as good as I say I am, I'm supposed to be able to do things that other people can't do, right? That's the way I look at it. I'm supposed to be doing a better job than other people that are doing this stuff because my experience is supposed to matter. If it doesn't matter, then why do you care? Why would you watch? So, kind of looking through the numbers, like I said, I don't have the final numbers on the expenses side, but we figured that we wanted to be around 220. And then with a market price of around 3.25, we figured that with a market price of 3.25, it being about 8%, which is about 25,000 ish. Then we go from, 3.25. If we got that, if we realized that price, then we'd be about 300 minus a 220 and some incidentals might be 225. So boom, there you go. We're at 75,000 bucks. 75,000 is a great number, especially depending on how much time, effort, and energy went into it. We're going to save that for the actual video because I'm going to walk you guys through it. Hey, Robert, good to see you. And so sorry guys that I wasn't here last week. I actually got the call from a couple of buddies. And when you're retired and you got an awesome wife who doesn't mind being with the kids a couple of days just by herself, with no help, they called and they were like, hey, come down and do this thing. And I was like, nah, you know what? I might be able to. And so I just talked to the wife and looked at my schedule and I was like, I can go. So last Thursday night I was at a dinner. I was at a dinner with some buddies and some of their buddies that I'd never met before. But it was a lot of fun, and thanks for coming back this week, even though I only missed the one. I think it's only the second week that I missed in like 4 years. But super excited to be back. But yeah, to Chester's point, I mean, it's an amazing ROI, right? We 1031 into that building, so we're gonna have to 1031 out of that building, right? That's really key. And so, 220, I don't know what the hard numbers are, but if I had to guess, I would say that we probably came in at the 67, but we probably used the contingency. I know that we used the contingency because I purposefully made the expense of doing that extra bathroom. Doing the extra bathroom and moving the drain, moving the lines and everything, and bringing electric to the bathroom and bringing electric to the washer dryer room, which is now separate from the kitchen. It's its own private space. Guys, you guys are going to absolutely love. Hey, Larry Bird, what's going on? You guys are going to love. I mean, guys, this project came out just the nuts. And if you don't like anything, tell me, but we'll do something there. Cash flow is freeing. Hey, good to see you. So want to have you guys, we'll do a walkthrough. Probably not on the 4th tomorrow, probably on Saturday. We'll probably do it on Saturday. We'll probably do a quick walkthrough with you guys so you guys can actually see the finished product and see what that thing ended up looking like. But I wanted to cover the numbers with you tonight. So, so again, purchase price of 153, kind of came up with a budget of 67 to bring us to 220, just a nice round number. But also I was like, you know what? I think that's right around where we're going to be. Because we knew we had to do kitchens. We knew we had to do flooring. We knew we had to do new vanities and paint things. I mean, there was a bunch of stuff that we had to do. Some new windows, a new roof. So there were some expenses like that we just, that we all kind of counted on. Everything came in about what it should have. I made a mistake with one contractor. We gave them a budget. We told them what it was. This was somebody that was doing a bunch of work for us at the time. This was actually the reason that they got fired. This project was the reason they got fired. And so way it goes, hire fast, fire faster. I didn't fire as fast as I should have on this one. And it was just, we were so out straight. We had so many other projects. This is the one downside, to having the size portfolio is that, we just didn't have enough people that were available. And to give you an idea, it's not like we need 10. We just needed a person at that house, daily grind, doing the work the right way every single day. And they just weren't. They just weren't good. They just weren't good enough. They were really slow. Every single step, it was like, but we were supposed to be done that on Thursday. And now it's our weekly meeting on the following Wednesday, and you're still not done. So that ended up costing that person their job. And tough way it goes. Warning. Hey, we need you to speed up. It needs to be faster. The work is decent, but it needs to be faster. Like if you're spending this much time doing the work, I'm expecting that I'm walking into the Sistine Chapel, and I'm not. I'm walking into a well-done house, which is what we require. We're not going to do junk, but we're walking to a well-done house, and we need to see it. We need to see that you're getting stuff done faster. Wasn't getting stuff done faster. So what does that basically leave us? It leaves us in an absolutely crazy market that's absolutely insane. And here's why. The crazy market that's absolutely insane. Here's why it is what I say it is. We posted it on a Thursday. We had open house on Saturday. We had 17 people in a 2-hour period. 17. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good number. I was really happy with that. We had 17 on Saturday. We had 6, I think, on Sunday. And I think we had another 5 or so maybe on Monday. And we got 2 offers on Monday. We basically told them, hey, best and final, do your best and final. And then we will come back. Guys, the deals that were negotiated beautifully. They did a phenomenal job. The buyers did, of putting together solid offers that were well crafted. Like, I appreciated the skill in which these were crafted. A lot of the some of the things are things that I use. And so, yeah, so it was overall, it was really good. So where that got us to was we went under contract on Tuesday. We had inspections today. The inspector was horrifically bad. Depending on what they come back with, like I'll share whatever they came back with. I'll share with you guys, but we're under contract right now. We're still under contract. I honestly don't know if we'll stay under contract. I believe that we will, but it depends on how big of an ass they have coming back. Because the house was done and the house was done well, but their inspector, I actually have an email that's going to go back and essentially just light the guy up. And the reason that we're lighting him up is not because he doesn't deserve it. He absolutely deserves it. And so the reason why he deserves it is because he said stupid things like, well, I don't even feel safe running that heat system. What? That heat system warmed the house the entire year. It has a service tag on it from only 120 days ago. And we actually have a laundry list of items, and it was only like, not like a long laundry list, but it was like 2 or 3 things or 3 or 4 things that we changed and upgraded on the system because we want to make sure that the next buyer doesn't have some major expense. So the system had been cleaned, it had been gone through, some parts replaced. Everything was tuned and tuned up and done by the same guy that services our other 100 and something, out of the 100 and something heating systems. Knows a little bit about what he's doing. And this bonehead, this balloon knot of an inspector, like most inspectors are, decided to give an opinion that he didn't feel safe running it based on absolutely nothing. There is nothing wrong with this system. And I know this because we've had it cleaned, inspected, gone through, repaired. There has been, we did not have one blip on the radar screen all winter long in running it. And the only thing we did now is we did our end of season stuff on the thing, maybe, I don't know, 4 weeks ago, which was a cleaning. There's nothing wrong with this thing. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a great system. So now I'm going to expose the guy as the fraud that he is, because I have a letter coming from the guy who did all the work saying, based on what? Basically, based on what? Based on the fact that you're an inspector and you don't have a plumber's license, based on the fact that you're an inspector and that you don't have an HVAC license, based on the fact that you're an inspector and you don't know anything about one pipe steam, based on the fact that you didn't even operate the system. So why did you feel like it was unsafe? Water levels were where they needed to be. The chamber isn't, collapsed or cracked. Like, there's no leaking around the system. So yeah, you're just a poser fraud. Bad news. So we're going to light that guy up tonight or tomorrow when sending the email over to the agent, because again, I have no problem with inspectors when they just have a level of humble pie and they say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really do steam boilers, so I'm not really sure. Just be honorable. Have some integrity. Don't be a clown. Don't be a doucher. Speak up when you don't know something, because you don't know something. And then I saw him, because I had to drive through the neighborhood. I saw him explaining to the guy, the dormer. He's completely wrong on that too, because I'm driving by slowly with my window open. He's like, well, you see what they did here. And he's explaining he's completely wrong. He can't see our joist system because it's completely covered up by sheetrock. He can't see it. And then we firewalled it in the ceiling, in the attic. So I know he's lying. He's not, he's literally a poser. So anyway, so we'll see, but we're under contract. I will give you guys, Larry Bird, I want to get into the course. I want to have you in the course, and we're going to have a boot camp in September ish. We're going to have a boot camp again. I don't know the exact dates, but we're taking reservations now. I want to say 7 or 8 of the 15 seats that we allow are sold. Just so you guys know, if you buy the course teaches all this stuff that I'm talking about. But if you buy the course is, the course is $1,000, and then the boot camp is another $1,000. We might raise the price of the boot camp just because it's 12 solid weeks, week after week after week, 2 to 4 hours every single Tuesday, every single Saturday night is when we do it. Sometimes we do Sunday night, sometimes we do a weeknight, sometimes we offer 2 nights, but all of that is, subject to change. But yeah, there's only, I think 7 or 8 spots left. We limit it to 15 because I want you guys to be able to really get to know your other investors in the group, but also get the opportunity to ask questions every single boot camp. Every boot camp, everybody has the opportunity to ask questions. That's what I love about the boot camp. But anyway, I digress. That's kind of covering the course, but would love to have you guys. Honored to be a part of your journey. And I promise you, ask anybody that's been in the course, ask them how many thousands of dollars they've saved. The $2,000 is a big number. Don't get me wrong. But when you see what the result of that $2,000 investment in you and your business is, it's not even close. It's not even close. Like, it pays. Most people say the course paid for itself in the first 30 to 60 days that they implemented some of the strategies. But I say all that to say, thank you for the course link. Appreciate you putting that in there. Wealth Building Journey. Thank you, Chester. Miss Hyder, if you catch this on the flip side, would love to. Hope you're doing great in your fishing season up in beautiful Alaska. But we'll kind of close the rant before we jump into some questions here. So the last question that I would have for you is, we're really excited about the house. It's under contract. We were under contract in 4 days. And we had gotten our first offer within 24 hours. We got our second offer within 48 hours, but we were under contract within 3 days. 3 days. 3 days. We had a signed contract within 3 days. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We had a signed contract Tuesday. So really exciting. But what I'd like to understand from you guys is, we looked at the market. You guys knew that we wanted to go to market for around 3.25. And one of the things that we always do, and what your agent should always do, is a CMA. Market analysis, certified market analysis. You want to, or comparable market analysis, depending on who you ask. But what you want to do is you want to look at that market analysis and have them do one. It might take them 2 hours, but too bad, you're paying them thousands and thousands of dollars. They need to be able to know how to do a CMA. So I think it's cool about the CMA was the CMA came back and it showed us some things. The 325, which I expected was a conservative number. But that's okay. I wanted to be conservative, like you guys heard before. If you just joining, we had talked about 20%. We talked about median price being around 440. So we wanted to be 350, 360 range. We knew we didn't want to be more than that, because then you start disqualifying chunks of borrowers. And we really wanted to be doing an entry-level home, a nice high quality entry-level home. So we believe that we delivered that nice quality entry-level home. And we knew that we could be in that. At the very most, we want to be 350, 360, but we thought we were going to be around 325, wanted to be conservative. But then I started talking about the range of 325 to 350. So when we did the CMA, what did the CMA tell us? The CMA actually said to us and told us, we looked at 3 different we looked at all the properties, but we looked at all the ones kind of, that fit our criteria. We found one that was, about the same size, not the same quality, wasn't redone, definitely some dated. And that actually did about 320. That actually did about 320. So we're kind of like, all right, 325 is probably low, but let's let the market show us. So then we look at the market. We saw 2 other transactions in the last 90 days. And those 2 other transactions were in the 340s. They were 341 and I think 343. So we looked at those and I said, I think we're comparable to those. He said, I agree with you. I think you are comparable to those. And so what we decided to do was underprice those, right? Because we figured anybody that missed out on those in the last, couple of months, they might not have purchased yet, but let's get in there and let's be underpriced. And we'll just drive a bunch of activity and hope we get multiple offers and then kind of go from there. And so that's actually what we were able to do. It's super exciting. Like I said, we are under contract. And we priced at 339. So 325 was what we originally thought. Based on what we saw in the CMA, 339, I felt was a good number. That's what the agent, that's what my broker came up with. I agreed. I thought 339 was pricing it perfectly. And I will update you guys soon, but love to see your guesses. And that way you guys can get your numbers out there of what you believe we went under contract for. I'm not going to share that tonight, but we'll share that in the video that we do once we've gotten over the inspection hump. Because this deal, just as easily as it was put together, could fall apart. Now, the good news is we have other offers, or we had other offers. So if something happens with this offer, we just go back to other people. We wanted things done quickly. So the good news is things were done quickly. Inspections were done within 48 hours. And get this, guys, inspections. Remember how hard it was to get inspections done? This person had inspections done within 48 hours of being under contract. Within 48 hours of being under contract. albeit the inspector probably only gets work from this one agent because he sucks. He really is bad. He's bad at his job. And I can prove it. And I'm going to prove it with actual pros that know what they're doing, that aren't just inspectors. They didn't just take a 2-week course. And so, and recognize, that no house that's 130 years old are going to be perfect. What are the big things? We took care of the big things. We did the big stuff. We know that the heating system is good. We know that the roof is brand new. We put in a brand new driveway. The electrical's all updated. The kitchen's all brand new. All of these things. We updated all the plumbing. Like all of these things that are big dollar, big ticket items, they've all been taken care of. The dangers around the house that we ended up having to take. Julie Anderson, thanks for the first guess. But all of the stuff that we ended up having to do is all the big expensive stuff. There were trees that were, pretty tall that could have been a problem towards the house. They've never fallen yet, but it's one of those things where it's like, why don't we just take that out of the equation, if you will, and try and make it easier. And so that's what we ended up doing. So I think, so from that perspective, I think what the opportunity is we'll finish things up and see what they come back with. Honestly, I don't think they should come back with anything, but we'll see. Wealth Building Journey 385. That's a monster number. So you think somebody paid $45,000 over ask? I don't know. You guys' expectations to me is just a little bit difficult to deal with. So I don't think we were that far off in the market, but yeah, I'll share that number with you guys next few days, but feel free to get guesses in there. But that's where we stand. So that's kind of the opening. It's a double long rant because I was gone for a week. But I had a lot to share with you guys. Again, sorry for the presentation, this evening, but, I was hanging out in the pool a ton today with my kids, and getting the youngest one in the pool is a thing. She's 19 months old and hasn't really spent any pool time. We've had unseasonably cold weather, with that global warming. We've had unseasonably cold weather this spring with lots of rain. And so we haven't really seen the kind of warm weather we like to see that actually makes the pool really nice and warm. So we haven't seen that yet. But let's jump into the comments and check you guys out. So thanks again for coming and hanging out with me. I appreciate your forgiveness or your approval for me to be gone for a week. I enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun with my friends for 2 or 3 days, and then drove back from where was I? Maryland. Drove back from Maryland on Saturday. Yeah, to get back to my kids. Yep. So it was a nice little break, nice little couple day, 2-3 day break. Meeting a bunch of their friends too. So it was cool. Old REI guy, good to see you. Flavio, good to see you from Grandview, Washington. Wayne Wong, always good to see you, sir. Anna Kay, my hockey fellow friend, I appreciate you. BuzzTune Mikey, good to see you. Good evening, Matt and everyone. Wealth Building Journey, good to see you. Grant, congratulations. Thanks for showing up. Not congratulations, but thanks for showing up. Always good to see you here. Jasic, good to see you as well. Let's see. Yep, 350. Yep, and there's Robert Farinelli. There he is. Larry Bird, the lumberjack, is in the house. And Larry, you will appreciate something I just got on my collecting in my sports card collecting. I got a Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Julius Ervin. So it's Larry Bird, Magic Johnson's rookie cards are on the same card. They're posted on the same card, and then Julius is in the middle. And I just closed up for my collection a deal that actually had me landing that card, but uniquely it's autographed by all 3 players. So it is a big collector's item. I'm super thrilled to have it. So yeah, it was really cool. Cash flow is freeing. Howdy, everyone. Good to see you. Andres Matos. Hey, Matt, do you think that the new Trump bill will favor us real estate investors in a big way? I don't know. I think that anything that is pro-growth always favors real estate investors. I don't, here's what I typically do. I don't look at each individual piece and say, this is the impact it's going to make. What I do is I look at a holistic approach and try to understand all the things and how they're related and what they're doing and the dependencies that they're creating on each other. and then see where that gets us in 6 months. What do things look like in 6 months? What do things look like in 9 months? What do things look like in 12 months? Um, for anybody that thought that a trade war was going to be easy, you're a knucklehead. You don't know what you're doing and you don't know what you're talking about. I always expected things to be tough. Now, I don't think that they're as tough as they could be, but I can tell you that I'm seeing rental applications. I see more than probably all of you guys combined. And it's abhorrent, the level of credit that people have. It's insulting to see that they're that bad at managing money. So I think that the economy is already hurting. I think that individuals are already hurting. And I think that many of those individuals can look for the closest mirror of who to blame for that hurting. Their spending is out of control. Like, I can't tell you the number of people that I see. $7,000 is what they have for net income, and $9,000 is what they had for expenses the previous month. Dude, then you're just bad at math. Like, that's your fault. That's not a bad economy. That's you. You're an overspender. That's what you are. You're an overspender. The number of people I see with $800 plus car payments, dude, the last $800 plus car payment that I had, I was driving a Dodge Viper. Like, that was the last payment that I had that was over $800, and it was driving a Dodge Viper. I saw them pull up. They are not driving a Dodge Viper. Like, and so for me, I drove my hoopty down to Maryland. I was like Maryland, Virginia. It was kind of all over the place where the two touch. But I drove my hoopty down. My car started overheating. It was a little bit of an experience, but I bought the thing for $1,000. The first year I had it, I put $1,000 or $1,200 into it. The next year that I had it, I put basically nothing into it. And then this year I put about $1,800 or $2,000 into it. So all in, I'm into the car for $4,000. I've driven it for 3 years, but now I'm kind of clear, kind of moving forward. I should be in pretty good shape, right? That's what we think anyway. So yeah, I'll maybe drive it for another year, but then at that point, I'll have about $4,000 into the car. I'll be ready to get rid of it. I'll sell it for $1,000, maybe $2,000. Somebody will get a decent deal on it, and something that will, that they can drive and that they can keep them going. Hold on one second. Just see what that is. Oh. And so somebody will get a deal out of it, but then I'll put a couple grand back in my pocket. And so what is my cost for driving a car for 4 years? It might be $3,000, which is kind of, quite frankly, where I want to be. That's 48 months. If I can keep driving what I'm driving under $100 a month, I'm a pretty happy guy. That's why I drive what I drive, but I digress. I'm in the wealth building journey. I'm in that position, newbie with PMs. Yep. And I need to have that grit about me to let them go and tell them it's just business. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, hire fast, fire faster. A bad hire, just make the mistake, make the admission it was a bad hire by me, or I'm taking over somebody else. I can't get the guy or girl to be a valued asset. I don't see what they bring to the table. And I keep on trying to find ways to use them. But at the end of the day, I have a project that I have to finish. Yeah. And that means I have to weigh the balance of getting rid of this person, bringing somebody else on that I believe I can get what I need for the team to excel. That's what has to happen. So I think that's a big key to this. And so let's see. Jeremy says, "Hey Matt, just moved into my first house hack using the info I learned from the course to make smart renovations." I love that, Jeremy. Thank you so much for saying so. Guys, you hear from one of the students. They looked at what they did in their house. They did smart renovations. They didn't just, S-can everything. They literally looked at it and said, hey, these are the things that I can do to vastly improve the appearance and perceived value of my asset. And better yet, there are things that I can afford to do. There might be bigger things on the list, and you can get to those things at a time, but you don't need to do those things right now, right this second. So congratulations. Well done, Jeremy. Larry Bird, I want to get in the course. It's there. Hit the link, and regular course and Bootcamp. Bootcamp will be doing sometime in the fall. And like I said, I think we have 7 spots left, but I haven't advertised. I haven't told anybody when the dates are going to be yet. We just have people that are ready to go for the next one. That didn't make it into the last one. Robert Farinelli says, driving right now, but I have a question for later. Trouble in Manchester. Now make a joke on that comment in the meantime. Yeah, easy enough. Manchester sucks. I hate that market. I don't care if you're on a list for the best places to invest. I promise you there's something that there's something in the formula that they're missing. They just are. They're just missing it. And so Manchester in New Hampshire is the largest city. It's had the biggest, it's had a huge boom, but they're the first ones to go down the toilet and they're the last ones to recover. When they recover, when they recover nicely. They do. And then it's good for 6 or 8 years, and then it's not. And then it's not. And then it's not, and it's not, and it's, it's bad for elongated periods of time. Not wishing that, of course, but that's just what my experience was in the past. Scott Coleman, good to see you, sir. Happy July 3rd. I've got my ears open now. Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to have you. July 3rd is good. July 4th is better. Excited for the 4th tomorrow. And honestly, we're just doing family stuff. I think we'll cook some, burgers and dogs type of thing, but that's about it. Julie Anderson, thank you for the guess. Wealth Putting Journey, thank you for the guess on what the property is under contract for. I will share that in the video. Probably after the weekend. I'll share in the video. We'll do a walkthrough probably sometime this weekend. So you guys can see it and see what the house actually turned out like. We'll talk about how much time I put into the project. Funny thing is I've not been inside. I've not been inside the house for a long time. I think I was in there one time to drop something off to drop off the check to the guy who did the spray. But that was basically it. So it's pretty awesome. The house came out absolutely beautifully. I was there and didn't say hi. It's funny. I was like, I know Chester's like somewhere around here, but literally I drove down, was with my buddies right away. And then we basically all disbanded at the same time because we were there Thursday, Friday. And then, Friday night is when Saturday. No, Saturday is when I left. Yeah, Saturday morning I left kind of early because I needed to get back home and I had a big drive. It was about 8.5 hours I drove each way. It was about 8 down. It was about 9 and some change back. Larry Bird, been a while since I caught a live lumberjack. More lives from the field. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we're gonna do some more lives from the field. The jail, guys. You wouldn't even recognize the jail. I'll try and do. I want to try and do a couple then, because the jail is just kicking ass. Like we got past all the fire alarm stuff, we got past all the suppression systems, we got past all that stuff, and now we're just kicking ass. Like it's we're gonna be in sheetrock next week, no joke. Sheetrock. And then that's for a couple of weeks. And then flooring is for about 10 days. And then kitchens are going in. So kitchens will be in towards the end of July. Yep. Painting, and then all the electricians and all the plumbers come back to do all their finals. Yeah. So super awesome. I'm so super pumped. Larry Bird, nice man. Trading cards are so cool. Nostalgic, bro. Congrats. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I'll show it next week. It's a beautiful card. I love collecting. I've been a collector since I was 6 or 7 years old. Always loved collecting. And there were the years where I was broke, where I couldn't afford anything and doing any of it. But there's collections all over here now. But I love this stuff. Steve, heyo, good to see you. Jeremy, I'm thinking 346. Okay, cool. Good guess. PE turned RE. How did you manage multiple house hacks without being over leveraged? Was there a portfolio loan to value that you wanted to stay under? Yeah, for sure. For me now it's 70% loan to value and it's got to still cash flow 20%. So if we pay down a bunch of debt, but we have the opportunity to re-lever with debt, we certainly always look at that based on the cost of the debt. But I believe that there's still a market correction coming for the type of assets that I like to buy. And so we had a couple of paid off properties with the values being what they were and the rates being what they were. We wanted to make sure that we had the money at the time to be able to put it in the market. We can always refi, but we didn't exceed 70% loan to value. We did a deal with Convoy Home Loans. We loved Convoy. I thought Jonathan and his team did an amazing job. And it wasn't easy for them because Wall Street was ever changing. Wall Street had people that were changing requirements on them kind of literally midline. Jonathan and team did amazing work. Still getting the deal done. It wasn't without fault, but it wasn't things that were in their control. It was things that vendors were changing on them. They did an amazing job navigating the process. So yeah, Convoy Home Loans, they're worth a phone call for sure. And then, yeah. So, PE turned RE. So now it's 70% loan to value, still has to make 20%. In the beginning, we were more highly leveraged, but I wasn't doing multiple projects at the same time. We were only doing one project at a time. And a lot of times then it was, repair as people moved out and then getting a higher rent. So feel free to follow up on your question if I didn't answer it and with all the info that you wanted. Wealth building journey. All good. Yeah, I understand the drive. Yeah, I had to make it up to make a drive up to Newport. Yep. Back when I was in the Navy as a lieutenant, 8 solid hours of driving. Oh my goodness, it is such a hike, dude. It is such a hike. And some of those roads in Maryland, no offense, they're awful. They are awful. Some of those highways there, twisty, turny, like almost like a racetrack, and people drive like morons in the rain. And yeah, I was very happy. And then, it's not like you get much of an improvement north of there, when you hit Jersey, and New York, I did not miss driving through New York at all. I hate driving through New York. And so even when you got to go around the city, it's still a pain in the ass. But yeah, each way. Yeah. Crazy. That was 15 years ago now. I know it's insane, right? But yeah, it was 15 years ago. Jeremy, I love longer drives, especially when there aren't too many morons on the road. Yeah, totally with you. The downside is that the road is chock full of morons. So it was a challenging drive. I tried to drive as late as I could. I think I left here on Wednesday night because I wanted to get as much driving as I could. But after after dinner and the kids were heading to bed, the Wire was in Baltimore, and that's fitting. That's fitting. There was no shortage of things that they could film there, which would be commonplace. But yeah, that was a long drive. Yeah, New Jersey sucks. Yeah, I got hit with 2 toll violations, $114. Yeah, I mean, like, honest to God. Like, and I did the whole ticket thing, but I kid you not, to go from New Hampshire to where I went in Maryland, Virginia, was $36 in tolls. It was $36 in tolls. Oh, that's a lot of money, guys. That's a lot of money. It was 70. I think it was $75 total. Actually, it was like 36 one way and a few bucks more the other. Yeah. Damn. Yeah. $75 in tolls. What a bunch of crap. But yeah, $75 in tolls. It was, $175 in gas, $195 in gas. Maybe 260, 270, but a plane ticket round trip was a G. I was like, I'm not spending $1,000 going back and forth. No way. Nope. Race Lever. Does the lumberjack landlord only rent log cabins? I do not. It's almost literally highway robbery. Oh no, it is highway robbery. It's a joke. If you're getting that much money, New Jersey, New York, fix your fucking roads. Like, give me a break. Learn how to run a budget, you assholes. Anyway, sorry. I'm quite passionate about that because their roads have not gotten any better, and the amount of construction that still occurs in that city on an ongoing basis, that's just complete garbage, and the rate is absurd to drive through the place. Like, honest to God, it is awful. It is awful. Yeah, it's horrible. Julie Anderson, I recommend real estate investment to a police officer today. He's in a Dion situation. He loved my ideas. Julie, that's exactly right. All we can do is share the ideas, right? We share the ideas, and it's up to the people whether or not they want to choose that path. It's all good. Choose it. Don't chew it. It's cool. This is not a language channel that the internet just dropped me in. Oh, well. Stick around and learn something, Race. I don't know what you typically watch, but you'll learn something if you want to know something about real estate. Unless you like working for the man. Some people like working for the man. PE turned RE. I asked because I'm saving for a house hack number 3 in a year. 3 in year 3. Yep. Okay. Of investing and don't want to screw myself only putting 5% down. So that's not a huge issue. I do like the 5% down because it gives you that much more ability to do the work in the house with your own money. The key of the 5% down is making sure that your rents make you enough money. You need to make sure that you nail market rents. So if you're able to put 5% down and still net, 10, 12% on a property in year 1, awesome. If you're then going to make improvements to the property and year two, you're going to go into, year two, you're going into, okay, now I can rent this thing out and I can rent something else or buy something else. That's really the key. So I like 5% down mortgages. You don't need to have a 20% down mortgage. What you have to make sure in these house hack scenarios is that you are going to see the return on your capital, right? That's what you do have to see. That's what you got to make sure. Race lever. I can learn something from anyone. As they say, even a fool can teach you what not to do. Not calling you a fool. I have no idea yet. Yeah, Race, it's okay. I'm good either way, man. Your opinion of me does not shape my reality whatsoever. 53 buildings, 150 units, 400 tenants, but I have the awesome opportunity to be a part of thousands of people's real estate investing journey. And the ones who have made an investment in me have seen massive returns on their approach. So that's all good. Bittner, no wonder so many people from New York and New Jersey moved to Florida. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's crazy. Like the taxes are insane. The roads suck. The traffic is awful. Although there's plenty of those downsides to Florida too. Like Florida, you're constantly walking around with swamp ass no matter what you do. Large cities are horrible at managing their budgets. Totally agree, Chester. They're absolutely horrifically bad. I've never been bummed of living in a town that was fiscally conservative, that just were like, we don't have the budget for it. I love that. Perfect. But if you need to do something, figure it out and make the budget for it. Jeremy, let's see. Can't manage their budget when all they do is give money away like idiots, throwing good money at bad. Honestly, always, all the time. Even small towns do that, but that's one of the problems that Manchester is always in. Manchester, New Hampshire is always in the problem where they're spending far too much money, far more money than they should be on programs that just don't matter. Smaller cities are usually much better at it than larger cities, for sure. They definitely are. Yeah, they definitely are. What you'll typically find, Race, is that the bigger correlation is to cities run by Democrats that love programs and libtards. Those cities are typically the worst run because they've never seen a program that they didn't want to pump with a bunch of dollars that they don't have. They don't understand how to balance a checkbook, if you will. And then conservative cities very often are properly budgeted and recognize that the citizenry doesn't want to raise taxes to do all these other pet projects. And so very often red cities are the ones that are far better self-sustaining, that require much less involvement from other parts and funding because they actually know how to balance their own budgets. Agreed. Yeah, woke people need to stay put. TM. Not wrong, right? Yeah, stay out of my state. Yeah, I get it. It can change the politics. The nice thing is when all that goes down to Florida, it just means you win by less, right? But yeah, that's the problem. We had the mass holes move from Massachusetts to New Hampshire, and they largely created problems. They shifted the state to now a blue state, and we enjoy our live free or die moniker. That's our state motto. And so the cities have become that much more blue, but a lot of the towns outside it haven't. And so it's a lot like Washington, right? Where Washington, the state of Washington, where basically it's Pierce County, I think it is blue, like dark blue. And then the rest of the state is red, but there's so much density of population there that it kind of leads the state. Yeah, mass holes, that's what we call them. Let's see, means auto jail time up to a first offense. Wow, yeah. So they don't have speeding tickets anymore? Oh, means auto jail time. Oh, interesting. Yeah, Matt Bittner. Guess what law Florida enacted July 1st? If you go 50 miles an hour over the speed limit or 100 miles per hour plus, it's a criminal complaint. Interesting. Means auto jail time 30 days. Yeah, I'd be willing to bet you that there's plenty of lawyers that are going to be getting people out of those. That's what I would bet. But I mean, yeah, I don't know that I'd be 100 plus miles an hour. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's pretty fast. I don't know. I've driven a lot of very expensive, powerful cars before, and 100 didn't feel like much. Race Lever, I'd agree that they are likely on average much better than large cities, but still wouldn't call them great at all. Yeah, again, I mean, varying great. You're under budget. Perfect. You're at budget. Perfect. I mean, I don't need them to be 15% under budget. I want them to, because that means that you're likely saying no to things that you should be saying yes to. Yeah. Matt Bittner, Montana, hands down the most free state. It is. New Hampshire was super free until about, like I said, a few years ago when all the mass started coming here, and then things have started to clamp down. Not awesome. Let's see, but Montana is a great state. TM, they make a mess, then abandon it and come to my house and make another mess. Yeah, sounds right. Grant Lee, how much reserves do you want to have for one rental before that second rental house hack? What I like to look at is, so it depends on how much money you're making on the actual asset, right? So if you are making a ton of money on the rent, and if somebody moves out, let's say it's a duplex. So it depends on what kind of asset it is. For me, if it's a duplex or a triplex, what I'm always hoping for is on a triplex that 2 out of the 3 units actually cover the rent. On a duplex, I recognize I might be a few $100 underwater, not a big deal. But ideally, what I'm looking for there is I'm looking for probably having, putting aside a certain amount of money. But as far as how much money makes me feel comfortable, it's then kind of the formula. And the formula is hard to figure out. And here's why. How old is the roof? How old is the heating system? How old is the water heater? How old are the things? How old are the appliances? So what I need to look at, what I'm looking at that point is how old are these things around my asset that are a part of my asset? How old are these things? And then that, if they've been well cared for, then that basically helps me with the understanding of what's the likelihood I'm going to have to replace that. What people don't understand is, rents go up all the time. Well, they have to, because I'm not going to be able to give the tenant a special assessment when in year 7 of owning the building, I need to do a new roof. I'm not going to get away with a special assessment. I'm going to be stuck. I'm going to be stuck with having to pay that $20,000 out of pocket, and I can't raise their rent to cover it. And I can't give them a special assessment because I'm not a condo fee and they shouldn't pay it anyway. Just because it went bad when they lived there doesn't mean that everybody else got the enjoyment out of that roof for 30 other years. So that's where, for me, it's much more, what's the number, right? What's the number that I'm making every single month if one of the units is vacant? So on a duplex, am I coming up with a few $100? Well, in that case, I'd like to probably have, a year's worth of that delta. So probably $5,000, is a number that I can kind of, I can handle a water heater. I can handle a repair to the roof, maybe not replacing the whole roof. But at that point, if they're like, hey, you're going to have to replace this roof in a couple of years, we can make a repair now, but we're going to have to replace it in the next couple of years. But that $5,000, what we do now is you have so many units filling into the feeder. My actual maintenance costs, they're nowhere near the 5% or 10% that the bank wants me to put aside. My actual maintenance costs are more like 3%. But now it's because I have a big enough portfolio where I can look at it and I can actually have an employee, and we actually still hire stuff out to contractors. But my actual maintenance costs are about 3%. So now I'm able to base it off of real numbers. Even though the bank puts it in their spreadsheet at 5 or 8 or 10, doesn't matter. They put vacancy in there at 5% as well. I'm nowhere near a 5% vacancy. That would mean on 153 units, that would mean that, I'm carrying about 8 units a month that are empty. Nowhere near that. We have stuff that's under construction, but that's never been on the balance sheet before. Right now we have, I think, 2 or 3 vacant units out of 150. So we're around 1%, 2%. And so I like to give the bank the real numbers and say, maintenance is about 3%. You're counting it at 10. Vacancy, you're counting at 5%, and it's actually 3% or 2%. That's where we get to be able to kind of share our numbers with the bank. And the bank looks at us and they're like, damn, you guys are good operators. That's what we kind of like. We want to be good operators. So hopefully it's not, so I don't have a hard and fast answer for you, but what I would tell you is, if the water heater's old, if the heating system's old, if it depends on how old some of that stuff is, that I would have a bigger, still contributing to the fund every single month. But before I was doing my next one, I would want to make sure that I have access to that. The other big thing too is if you've got decent credit, it's not like it's a great idea, but if you had to, you could put it on a credit card and then pay that off over time. And then, target that debt. Even if you're into the second house, you can then target that debt and then nail that down. And then that might delay you on house number 2, but it doesn't delay you getting to house number 2. It delays you in getting to house number 3. So yeah, for me, I want to see that I have a few months, that we have a few months of rent. So right now, based on how aged our portfolio is, 40%, 50% of our tenants could stop paying rent and we're still able to pay our bills. We're not doing any projects. We're not doing any proactive stuff, but we're still able to maintain the portfolio. And that's of value. That's kind of how we do it. King County is a problem child. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate you correcting me because I don't know. Let's see. Race. Now. I wouldn't talk to me that way. Massachusetts were the first to fight the British for freedom. You all didn't start that. Yeah, but I can promise you we finished it, clown boy. Like, Massachusetts is a punchline. That's why they call it Taxachusetts. That's why Boston is a punchline. Most of these major cities that are run by these libtards, they're horribly run cities that run well over budget and don't offer any value. That's why rich people leave them. That's how it works. That's why I don't live there. That's why I live in New Hampshire, because it's tax-free income and sales tax. But yet we still find a way to be on budget. Imagine that. It's because we don't waste money. Because we're not looking for the next program to shove a bunch of money into and get no results and not measure anything against. We actually are pretty smart. We have business people, not politicians, run our state. They're actually business people. Yeah, it's pretty cool how that works. Jeremy, yeah, I was going 42 over in a 55. Could have got arrested over 80 in North Carolina. Learned how to use cruise control after that. Yeah, true story. Wealth building journey. There are some parts of I-95 that have 80 mile per hour speed limit. That's true. So it's insane to think you can be going 90 miles per hour and you're basically within legal tolerance. Yeah, exactly right. Yep. But then the other thing too is like, there's like some terminology 25 over. So technically you could be doing 105. But again, I get that, but it really depends. It, obviously depends on the car too. I wouldn't want to be seeing that from a Ford Probe, from 1997. Wouldn't want to be seeing that out of that car. But there's tons of cars that can easily handle 100 miles an hour, no problem. Very easily. Almost all the modern cars can pretty easily, except for Hyundais and Kias. And even some of those do okay. PE turned RE. Yeah, Josh, sorry. Not all of us Pierce County voters like it either. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is, it's just the challenge though, right, is that you guys don't like it and you'll move out just outside of Pierce County to get a little bit of normalcy. And then that just puts Pierce further in the toilet. Robert Farinelli. So here's the problem. Way too many units available in Manchester. Yep. I'm trying to rent out a 2-bed and there are 397 of those listed on Zillow and 485 unit of any bedroom count. Yep. Yeah. Like I said, that's what happens in that city every single time. There ends up being a lot more inventory and they've done nothing but add inventory. And so what is going to make somebody attract to yours? At that point, you got to start doing specials, $99 move-in special or a free month of rent with a signing of a 2-year lease. You have to start getting innovative in the things that you can offer. And you also have to start getting more targeted in your ads because you get lost in the shuffle. I know that my ad wins when it gets seen, but getting seen when there are 385 other options, that's the challenge. That really is the challenge. So what you can start doing is you can start reaching out to your existing tenants. Hey, do you know anybody that's looking for a place to live? That's something that actually works pretty well. But yeah, that's something that's something that we do. We've done a lot. Matt Bittner, Washington, DC is a problem child. That's true. Race Lever, Clown Boy, LOL. Clearly doesn't practice what he preaches and is projecting. Race, dude, like, go get a hard on for somebody else, bro. Like, you add no value here. We're not having it. We're talking about real estate. We're talking about how to invest, how to get your money back, the way that you can help out the community, the fact that, cities are worse run. Like, these are all real estate related items. What would you like to say, Race? What are you here to not learn? Because clearly you'd like to participate. What would you like to participate with? Robert Fairnelly, people forget about the Pine Tree Riot. Yes, that's true. Tim, I wouldn't own rentals in cities. They want UBI and will put rent caps in. So rent caps actually make landlords richer faster. Because what it basically is, it's an approval for us to be able to raise your rent every single year. And what's interesting about it is that a lot of cities that have voted it in, they voted in a calculation that actually gets me a lot more money. Me personally, I don't like it because then it forces my hand where I have to raise the rent on a tenant. We have tenants now that have been in a place a year or 2 years. They're great tenants. They never complain. When there's an issue, they let us know about it quickly. They're reasonable when there's a repair that needs to be done. All of those things are awesome. And so they're just really easy to work with. And so for them, we're like, yeah, we don't need to raise the rent there. Like we're doing well enough. The expenses for the building haven't really gone up meaningfully. And so that's what we do. So that's one of the cool opportunities. Um, that's one of the cool opportunities that we have. Trying to find. Didn't see it. Didn't see it. Ooh, is this one done? Crap. Yeah, that's what I expected. Hold on one second, guys. Oh, it is both those. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Make sure you flush twice in DC. It's a long way to DC. Yeah, true story. Macroeconomic question. Why do you think we have such massive oversupply right now? It's really interesting. I mean, it's one of those things where I think that part of that supply is that people are so over pressured and over leveraged that they've had to move home, that they've had to move in with and have more roommates. So people for a long time that were doing 3 bedrooms and they were using one for an office and, one for a friend. A lot of those now are 3. They're full with 3. We've seen that happen. We've seen it happen where, 4-bedroom places that had 3 people in them now have 4 people in them. We've seen that. So we've seen a lot of that type of stuff where the market's shifting. And there's been a lot of supply that's come onto the market too. There's been a lot of these large multifamilies that have hit the market in a lot of these markets. Arizona is absolutely due for a correction because of just the sheer amount of supply that's been brought to the market. So in Manchester, it's the same exact thing. There's been a lot of, buildings put up in Manchester, a ton. There's been a lot more units added than there have been people added to the city. So that's one of them. Then you have the condensed nature of such, people. And then you have the third piece, which is, some people moving home. It's absolutely happened. We've seen it all happen. We saw it happen with 3 or 4 tenants there. And so what's interesting is with those people moving home, it's the next set of people looking for a place. But we have seen a lot of that consolidation for sure. The Northeast is usually a little bit more isolated because they're not building a ton of apartment buildings in our area. There's one massive project that's going to go on, but we've seen all the projected numbers and they're going to fill with some people and they're going to do move-in specials and things like that. But the challenge that they're going to have is their cost basis is going to be, $2,700 for a studio. Their studio is going to be $3,000. Our market, I don't believe, can support that in mass scale. So it'll be interesting to see what occurs with those buildings because the person that's renting out my studio at $1,500 has no interest in looking at a $2,600 studio. Even if they give them a free month's rent, they're going to quickly realize I'm going to need to downscale. What's interesting is I got 2 reach outs today from old tenants. And they're like, hey, have anything available right now? And that's always the ultimate compliment, right? When they come back and they go, yeah, I moved out with a boyfriend or moved out with a girlfriend or moved to a different part because of a job. But hey, now I'm back. And do you have anything for me? And so, yeah, we'll likely rent to these people, but yeah, we'll kind of see how it unfolds. But that's what I see. I see a lot of these units condensing. I see some layoffs, like we've talked about from being laid off from jobs. And when you think about 200 people being laid off, that's likely it's 200 households that are affected. And in a place that might have, 30,000 households, 200, it's a pretty big number. I mean, when you're talking about almost 1% from one company, and there's bigger companies too. So like I said, I think that there will be, it's like, like I've been telling you guys all along, there's absolutely a correction coming. Is it going to be 5%, 10%, 20%? Don't know. I don't think it's a crash, but I definitely think it's a correction. And so that's what we've kind of fine tuned in a lot of our stuff for sure. Let's see. Channel 16, you go. Well, kids, Mason County, Washington, only 3 stoplights, a lumberyard, and a Walmart. What else do you need? I mean, Channel 6, nailing it right there. I don't know that you need much else other than that. Oh, and race. What do you need, race? Helping out the community by calling massholes and clown boys whenever they insulted him. Total helping my portfolio. LOL. Great real bro. Peace. Get real bro. Peace. Dude, race, you're here. Let me help you. I don't ever want you to come across my channel again. See ya. Like, honestly, like, don't know who I am, but the tolerant one, so intolerant. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he chose not to. Yeah, exactly. It's easy enough. That's fine. TM, moratoriums, etc. Yep, cheap money. I'm buying raw land next. Yeah, raw land's great. The challenge with raw land, if you live in an expensive area, is banks very often won't give you anything more than 50%. So if you're buying a $200,000 lot, you need $100,000. Well, the problem is, unless you're planning on developing that land sooner than later, that $100,000 isn't going to make you any money. And what you'll realize in not you TM, but in general, what you'll realize in general is that when a market corrects, land gets really inexpensive. Now is not the time to buy land. In most markets, it's not the time to buy land. I'm not buying land in my market. My market's still really expensive. I bought a lot, I think 4 years ago, maybe almost 5 years ago. I bought it because I stole it for $100,000. The land's probably worth $175,000. But I bought it when land wasn't being bought up. Now it's worth $175. I could sell it, but I own property next to it. So I'm like, I really want to control what goes in there, because now I own 4 buildings on I own 4 buildings on an 8 building street. I can own half the street. That means that street can be really pretty. And the other stuff, they'll either improve their properties or they'll sell, and I'll buy them, and then I'll make the street beautiful. It's in a nice neighborhood. Oh, Race. Like, do we really believe his first name is Race? Like, yeah. I got a channel you could go watch. Raging Tomato. I'm sure it'd make your head explode. Robert Farinelli. Yeah, all the 2 bedrooms coming to market in Manchester for $2,200 to $3,000. I'm at $1,750 in a good neighborhood. Don't think people are seeing my ad, but once it gets seen, people reach out. Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that you can do too is you can pump up your rent a little bit more, or you can put it at $2,200, right? So hear me out. You could put it at $2,200 at the bottom, at the low end. You could put it at $2,200. That's $450 higher a month than what you said. And you can give away the 2 months. You see what I mean? Or even give away 1 month and put it at $1,995, or put it at $2,200 and give away 1 month, or give a $100 deposit, knowing that you're going to have probably $2,200 worth of work that's going to be done. So you can still get the number that you need, but you could be pumping up the number and charging more. If you're not getting that traction, I don't want to beat my competition by 1.5 miles. Right? I just want to beat them. And so if I beat them, I can be at 2,000 and they're at 2,200 or 1,995. The fact that it has a 1 in it, because I think what might be happening is people are now associating your property with, it might not be in a good area. It might not be very nice. It's not as nice as this other stuff. And so that's why it's charged at $1,750. Sometimes people make that correlation, just say, that's too cheap. It's not going to have all these things that I want, as an example. Let me just 1 second, guys. Huh. Interesting. Oh, wow. So I reached out to so I'm still waiting to get that email from my heating system guy. 9:00, he texted me back. He said, I'm still working. I'll get it to you ASAP. Feel awful for the guy. Feel awful asking for it, but I want to deliver it for them for their 4th of July weekend. Oh, man. Grant Lee. I keep running into people down here in Phoenix that just want to buy land and add utilities and flip it. I've also seen spec builders selling land with plans because their spec hasn't sold yet next door. Yeah, absolutely. Again, the reason I don't like land is it doesn't give me revenue. It doesn't give me cash flow. When you buy, and it's more of a flip project. And again, going into a down market, going into a market where things are going to adjust, going into a market where there's too much supply, land goes down because builders stop building. And when builders stop building, land is less valuable. There then becomes a glut of land, not enough builders to build on that land, not enough people making those capital investments because of cost of capital or because the economy's soft. Fill in the blanks. That's why I don't like land in strong markets. I like to buy land when it's soft, when the economy's down, when somebody has a piece of land. We've held onto this thing for 20 years and now we're going to sell it. Kid you not, one of the biggest deals, I just completely missed out on the deal. And it's because I listened to my grandfather. We had a conversation. He's like, oh yeah, she offered me that piece of land, 10 years ago for $12,000 and now she wants $100,000. That's ridiculous. See, the problem was, I listened to him. I should have just done the math and said $100,000's not bad actually. And I should want to own that stuff. So the issue for us is, you look at it and you go, all right, well, I should have paid her the $100,000. Why? Because somebody paid her the $100,000 and then built 2 spec houses on it. Now those 2 spec houses are in the backyard of that house, or did they build 3? I think they actually built 3. They built 3 houses on that land. When they built those 3 houses on that land, guess what? They made like $150,000 per house that they built there. $450,000 is what that $100,000 turned into. And that only took about a year and a half. Now that would have worked for me, that I could have easily done, but listen to grandpa and he was like, oh, it's ridiculous. It's not worth that. And I'm just like, oh, freaking hell, man. Just unbelievable. So anyway, that's the story. But anywho, let's see. Robert Finelli, it's an attic unit though, awkward layout. Yeah, and that's fair. Like then have it adjusted for that, but play with it. Like if you're not getting any real play at $17.95, try $19.95 and then offer the free move-in bonus. A free month of rent or a free month of rent and only a $500 security deposit. Figure out what that is, because that might hit the number for people where they're like, damn, $19.95, but I don't have to come up with a deposit and I'm going to get a free month of rent at the end of the lease. Like, this is awesome. It's just an opportunity. But again, tie something to it. You don't want to have the unit open for too long. And more importantly, is it's on in July, meaning you're looking for an August move-in. The latest that you want is a September move-in, because then you're October, November, and things get rough. It's priced similarly to 2 beds in West or Central Manchester that then aren't new complexes. Yep. One of the bedrooms has a roof coming down, makes it an awkward unit. Really need to dormer it at some point. Yeah, I get that. TM, nice. Land where I am is relatively cheap, 20-year hold. Yeah, and again, that's okay. If you have a lot of money, that's okay. But think about 20 years. I don't want the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. I want to get paid money going over the rainbow and still get the pot of gold at the end. Because if I'm buying a cash producing asset, right? And again, every market's different. But largely speaking, if I'm just from a math perspective, if I'm buying a cash producing asset that's giving me 10 points, as an example, cash producing asset is giving me 10 points every single year. And then that gets bigger and bigger and bigger as my costs stay largely the same. They go up like this, but rents go up more like this. And even if rents hit kind of flat, then they still uptick and then they hit a new plateau and then they uptick and they kind of do that sort of a thing. So over the course of the rainbow, I want to be getting paid all across the end of the rainbow. And then the pot of gold at the end is I still have all that value because I paid down the asset, but now I have a house that is always going to be worth more than raw land, unless you're buying land that's very unique because it has some amazing zoning. The problem is when you buy land that has amazing zoning, they can change the zoning. I've seen it happen. It's really awful because it completely changes the metric of the land. And they can just do it. They can say, nope, we're rezoning that area. Well, damn it. Like that piece of land was worth $350,000 and now it's worth $100,000 because of how you rezoned it. And it's a non-conforming lot. And so this is all that I'm going to be able to do. So that's why for me, I don't love land. I like to buy land in bad economies because people are usually desperate to then sell it, recognizing that I might have only a 5-year window before we're a good economy. But again, I'm doing it always out of excess. Yep. TM, thanks for your feedback. I don't want maintenance and want cheap taxes. Yeah, again, I get that. But My tenants pay my maintenance, not me. My tenants pay for it. And so again, you can do whatever you want. Every market's different, but if the idea is make the most money, by far, every single time an investment property will beat out land every single time. It'll beat out raw land every single time. Yeah. Josh Burdick, nothing like a dormer to really open up a living space. Totally agree. Looked at a place today. We might put an offer in on it. It really kind of depends on what's going to happen with this deal that we're working on now. On the flip house. But we'll see what their numbers are that come back and see kind of where we go from there. But that's that. But guys, Kai Holman, hi. If it makes sense, buy the land. There's so many options when it comes to land. Yeah, I mean, there are. That's not incorrect, but there's so many options when it comes to real estate too. And there's no land guy that I've ever seen be out in front and ahead of the guy that bought income producing properties. I've never honestly seen it. Never seen it work. Even as you see urban sprawl, right? And this land used to be able to be bought at $5,000 an acre and now it's $50,000 an acre. Everybody's tickled pink that it went 10x. That's great. How much of that land did you actually have? But the bigger issue is that you didn't get paid all the money. And this is the mistake that people make. It's the same thing with stocks. Unless it's a dividend paying stock, that stock might go from $10 to $100 in 10 years. Very well possible. But it's a matter of making money over the course of that time where you can either reinvest it and pay down the debt on the asset, or you can take that and then that has other babies where you have other house babies. I'll beat a land guy every single time, no matter what deal you show me. Mineral rights, yeah, I've seen them. Sometimes they work out, but more often than not, they do not work out. You're not getting paid these massive royalties, or you give somebody the rights to do it. They don't find anything and they had the right to look at it. And now you've got land that they might have turned it back to the way it was, but I've got bad news. They didn't find anything. So now we know that your land isn't worth anything for mineral rights. That's what you can kind of see on the off end too. Channel 6, Matt, my criteria for buying my flips is only buying flips that are double parcels. House with an empty lot next door. Yes, buy low, then fix and sell. And now I have a free and clear lot. Absolutely. Love that strategy. That's absolutely fantastic. And now sometimes you don't even need to have the double lots. You can just do an ADU, where if you can do an ADU and get an ADU up quickly, that's a great thing. But I always love kind of buying things by bulk. And then because I'm taking the time to separate it, redo it, do this, creating value, just buying raw land, you have to create some value there. But again, that's always an outlay of expense. And very often there isn't that immediate return, or there's no, it's like TM said, which is it's a 20-year time horizon. If that's what you want as your time horizon, that's fine. Pot of gold to the end of the rainbow. But I've seen land in areas where a lot was $100,000 10 years ago, and now it's $125,000 10 years later. Honestly, if those were the numbers, I've got bad news. You lost money based on the taxes that were on the land. You've lost money. And that's what happened with that lady at the at the $100,000. She was, choking down a $4,000 a year tax bill on that piece of land that she had. So over the 10-year period, she paid, about $50,000, because it was 4 in the beginning and maybe it ended up at 5, but because it didn't escalate quickly. So she had it 12 into it, where she was basically like, yeah, I'm just going to sell this because it subdivided it off. But she spent, so she had the 12 plus the 50. So she had 62 into it and she got 100. So she made $38,000. Now over a 10-year period of time, $12,000 to make $38,000. Yeah, she 3x'd her money. You're going to do better in a rental because you get paid all the way along and it's an asset and you're paying down the debt. That's why real estate is so unique. But guys, I hope it was great to be back with you. Thank you so much for coming and showing up. Sorry I missed last week. Super excited to be back this week. You guys will see a live stream from me sometime this weekend. I haven't figured out which day yet. It's going to kind of depend on the weather and the kids' pool schedule. But super excited to be back. Thank you guys so much for the time, for the questions. Race, wherever you are, I hope you're adding value. But I doubt it based on the questions and what you brought here. Not very valuable. TM, I bought 4 acres for $5,000 at a share of sale and sold the trees and it paid for itself. See, perfect example. And that's great. That's great. Fantastic. Yeah. You're having to find the right land. The trees that paid for it, fantastic. But what is the future development potential? So the land is now bought and paid for, but you're going to have taxes on it every single year. Yep. You're going to have taxes on every single year. I love that. I love that you did that. I love that that worked. My area land's not cheap. But it does escalate faster percentage wise than most other places in the country. You're hiking Saturday, please do it Sunday. Worst case is you'll be able to watch the replay. But yeah, like I said, there's all these sorts of different strategies that work everywhere. Again, I don't know of anybody that bought land 20 years ago in my area that any of those pieces of land look anything like what my duplexes look like. They didn't get all the income. They didn't get all the cash flow, and my asset went up a lot more than their land did. Their land might have doubled, but my house quadrupled. So just an interesting thing to look at. Yeah. Taxes are $450 a year. Nice. Yeah. But guys, have a fantastic week. You guys will see me this weekend. Make sure your alerts are on. Make sure your alerts are on. But guys, have an absolutely fantastic rest of your week. You'll see me sometime this weekend. Happy 4th, everybody. Amazing country, guys. We have an amazing country. We're not flawless. We make a lot of mistakes, but man, we are a whole lot better than elsewhere in the world. And if you don't believe that, live some other places as a citizen there and let me know how that goes for you. Guys, have a fantastic rest of your week. Happy 4th, and we'll see you sometime this weekend on a live stream. Bye, guys. Have a blast. Thanks.